We're heading to Florida to step inside 4 remarkable homes that blend personality and charm into inviting spaces. First, we visit a vibrant guest house where playful furnishings create a luxurious retreat for a growing family. Next, we tour a Palm Beach home with a glamorous grotto-inspired powder room and a mix of pinks and greens that reflect its seaside vibe. Then, we explore a historic 1926 property, where Italianate revival meets tropical accents for a serene, nostalgic atmosphere. Finally, we visit a 1925 Spanish Mediterranean home where Hemingway-inspired style blends refined masculinity with whimsical color and pattern. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Cece.
And I'm Nick. Welcome to our guest house in West Palm Beach, Florida. Please come and take a look around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
I'm Cece Bowman.
I'm Nick Bowman, and we're in West Palm Beach, Florida, in our guest house. So the backstory behind this is we're actually neighbors. We live next door, and we've been here for about 7 years. During that time, our family has grown, and we needed space for our little ones to run around in, and we wrote a number of letters to the lovely neighbors next door who finally gave in or were ready to sell to us. And really the idea behind it was put up a couple of soccer goals, a big trampoline, but what came with that land is a little dollhouse for Cece to play with. And I actually never saw the house before we bought it. Cece was the one that took the phone call saying, we're ready to sell. She said, yes, but let me check with my husband, but yes, we'll buy it. And we really did buy it sight unseen.
The first time we walked into the house, we really had no idea what we were walking into, but we knew the family who owned it before had been here since 1972. They raised 6 children here. They're the nicest family, and nothing had changed, I think, since 1972. So there was blue kind of shag carpet everywhere. Curtains all over the windows, so you couldn't see really outside much. So what we walked into was kind of a dark, sort of old house, and we were so excited when we finally closed on the house on June 1st, so just about 6 or 7 months ago. We ripped the curtains off and actually ripped all the carpet out ourselves to reveal some true treasures that were lying underneath. So, for example, there's a beautiful terrazzo floor here that you'll see later. But as we stripped the house of all those heavy things, it became this light, pretty space, and we realized that we had stumbled across something really special.
My first impression was I didn't know people had carpet in Florida. And then I learned about popcorn ceilings as well.
Oh yeah. We had our work cut out for us. The biggest challenge of the renovation was just the amount that we had to do. All the windows basically had cracks in them. And at first we started by saying, okay, we're gonna do as little as possible to bring this up to snuff. And as we went, instead of replacing just a pane of glass here and there, we realized that we really were just gonna get so much more into this that we had to bite the bullet. So we got all new windows, we skim coated all the ceilings, we had a terrazzo company come in and restore the flooring. And so those were kind of the biggest construction things that we did. Other than that, we didn't touch anything in the house, really.
I think it helps that someone broke into the house. Someone literally smashed one of the windows, and we thought, okay, we have to repair one very big window. We might have to rip the Band-Aid off and just do all of them and make them shatterproof or hurricane-proof, and actually just go all in. That was probably our biggest unforeseen expense, but it's really opened up the house and gives it so much light at the same time.
Yeah, it was a blessing. The design direction for the house is different from our house because every single thing in here is new. We wanted a place where the kids can come in from the yard and jump on the sofa with messy feet and not care. So everything was done based on the fact that we knew it would get used and loved, and we could spill red wine and not really care. So there's nothing precious, there's nothing super sentimental. We just wanted it to be pretty, and which is totally different from the house we live in, right? It's also kind of a chance for me. I'm an interior designer for Kemble Interiors in Palm Beach, and it has been a fun opportunity to kind of get my hands dirty with some of the work that we do for our clients too. So you'll see in some of the rooms we've stenciled walls, and Nick and I did it ourselves. And it's really just a colorful, bright, happy design that we think fits in with what people like to see in Palm Beach. Welcome to our living room. This is the first room you walk into when you enter our house. And what's amazing about this house is that when we first purchased it, it had blue shag carpet wall to wall everywhere that you can see. And the day we closed on the house, we personally ripped it out. So what was underneath, which was a big mystery to us, ended up being this beautiful terrazzo floor that we had a restoration company come in and completely sand down and re-polish and make perfect, which is awesome because it's casual, it's very Florida. It also just lends itself to the fact that we're in a 1950s ranch house in West Palm Beach. This is just really classic. So we were lucky to find this underneath the rug. This room is where we have cocktails, we entertain. Again, when we first bought the house, the curtains were covering all the windows. You could not see outside. There were shutters, awning shutters above the windows that covered your sky view. So we removed all of that, and what was revealed was this bright, sunny place that we love to hang out now.
Coming back to the floor, I think that's probably my favorite thing that we inherited, and I think it's worth saying that it's always worth peeking what's under the floor and seeing what may or may not be there. This really opens up, I think, the light. It has some color in it, but it's bright, it's white, it allows us to play off it, and you never know what's under there. It took some TLC to bring it back to life and restore it, but I think it's my favorite thing that we inherited, at least.
The walls are a Benjamin Moore soothing green. Nick and I actually went to the paint store, which going to the paint store as a couple is terrifying. It should never be done, but we didn't disagree. So we came home with all the paint chips and laid them out on the floor, and what you see in the house are all these different happy colors. We don't have any white walls in this house at all. So Benjamin Moore really was where we went for the color inspiration. The curtains we actually found on Etsy. The gentleman who is the Etsy vendor pleated them for us to the correct widths and was really helpful in making these for the room, but they weren't custom curtains made in a workroom in Palm Beach. We did have the installers who I work with at work install everything, because things like that are just what gets knocked around first. So we used really good installers, but the actual items that you see are very casual and not custom. Even the artwork actually is from Target. So we had fun. We just wanted it to be colorful and happy and kid-friendly. The floor plan in this room was tricky to figure out. When we first walked in, there was no furniture in here, so we didn't really know how it was used before. And it kind of, after drawing this in on CAD several different ways, this just seemed to make the most sense. And it's a fun place to get cozy with our children and friends. From here, we can go this way into the dining area, which is part of the living room. It's all open. These here are really fun Mary Maguire art pieces. They are very islandy and sort of follies, which is appropriate because this house is our folly. The frames are actually from the Kemble shop, Kemble Interiors, where I work, and we use these as gallery wall frames in a lot of our projects. The bamboo is just perfect for Palm Beach. And then as we come into the dining area, you'll notice that the two chairs at the head of the table are different from the side chairs. There's nothing more fun than mixing it up. There is something about having all the same chairs, just a sea of chairs around a dining table, that is traditional, but sometimes it's fun to have two different chairs at the head that are tall, or even to have benches on each side of a dining table just for fun. This mirror is really special to me. I was fortunate enough to collaborate with Fleur Home, a mirror company that does really magical work. They took an inspiration image that I found and were able to create this massive mirror. And it's called the Coco mirror, after my mom. And they actually sell it on their website. And hopefully I get to do more things with them. But it's all wood cutouts, it's layered. It's just taking something that a lot of times is just rectangular and doing something totally wacky with it. So that's really fun. To dress the table, we tend to not use flowers. We just go find shells in Harbor Island or down the road and like set the table with something a little less traditional. You can have orchids coming out of them. You can do so much fun stuff with something other than just regular flowers. The placemats are leaves, again, just something out of the ordinary. These bowls were found on the internet, just scouring for old vintage plates and dinnerware, and I love the pop of color. When we have parties here, it's like a picnic. Everybody brings something. There's a little tiny oven and a 4-burner stove, and it's just simple stuff. So, you know, a lot of it is about cocktail hour and some of it about eating good food. Mostly about being in a setting that we like to be in.
I think neither of us would put cooking anywhere near the top of our skills list. So I think what we find ourselves doing is Cece will make somewhere beautiful for you to sit. I'll make you something beautiful for you to drink, but if you could help us out and bring us something good to eat, then we're friends. There's a couple of things actually in here that I'd love to point out or tell you about. So my heart says my favorite thing in the room is the mirror that Cece designed. However, this chandelier, which I absolutely love, it used to be in our home, but I used to hit my head on it every single day standing up from the table. So I'm personally ecstatic that it's in the guest house, hung a little higher, and I so far haven't been in danger of impaling myself on it.
My career in interior design probably started when I was 8 years old. I loved the idea of designing houses where people lived. And I would draw island houses. My family and I used to go to St. Bart's every year, and the houses there are just magical because you have to go from the bedroom to get to the kitchen. You actually have to go outside. And at that time I lived in Vermont, where that wasn't really an option. So I just dreamed my whole life of designing tropical houses. And in high school, I took architecture classes, and I continued that through college as a minor. And then I went to the New York School of Interior Design for 2 years and eventually moved to Palm Beach, where I felt like that sort of tropical drive took me. And I started working at Kemble in 2011. It's the most magical experience I could have ever asked for. The creativity within that company is just unbelievable, and what I have learned in the last 13 years of being there has really shaped who I am and also my design, obviously.
My background is a little different. I spent 16 years in financial services, and during this time, you know, Cece and I got married, we've had kids, and both of our careers were really taking off. And about a year ago, we were on the beach in Miami having a rare weekend away and just talking about how busy we are and how crazy things are. And I said to Cece, you know, do you think one of us should take a step back from our career and be there more for the kids and to support the other one? And Cece sort of said how happy she is and how much she loves her job, and I put my hand up, and that's where we are. So I'm now what we call the lead parent or the lead dad. I devote my time to supporting my amazing wife and spending more time with our amazing kids. Okay, shall we go and see the one room that I had a tiny little bit of influence on? Come with us to the kitchen.
And now we're in the kitchen, where we also have a little bar. This was a piece that Nick actually found in Antique Row in West Palm Beach, one of the best places to shop for little antiques, and brought it home in his car, and he was really proud. The floor in here when we purchased the house was really bad vinyl tile. So we removed all the flooring, we've fixed up all this terrazzo, and this was the only room where we changed the layout of the room, because here was a stove that was super old, probably from 1972. And when the previous owners moved into this house, there was no dishwasher, and the fridge was here. So we ended up just reorganizing this, bringing it up to being a more modern kitchen, but we actually kept the old quirky cabinets. We loved them. This all had doors on it, and we took them off, and as you can see, we've painted it in 2 colors.
Cece mentioned that we went to the paint store where she made a couple of trips on her own as well. And one day she came back and put down a green and a blue and said, what color should the kitchen be? And my immediate reaction was, why not both? So that's why we have a green-blue kitchen, and that's why I feel like this is the one room I had an impact on.
What we love about it is that it keeps the 1950s charm. It doesn't modernize the kitchen at all. It actually is a giant step backwards. Same with this detail above the window. This was here and is what just makes the house this charming 1950s cottage that we love. We picked up some vintage looking appliances along the way just to kind of keep with the theme of not modernizing the house too much. We have a daughter named Clementine, so this painting is for her.
I think maybe the biggest impact in this room was doing the countertops. I think changing the countertops in a kitchen, I don't know if that counts as a big thing or a small thing, but it definitely makes a big difference. The countertops before were sort of a white, would you describe them as vinyl?
It was a laminate material. We took the laminate countertops away and replaced it with this Corian, which we actually have in our main house too. It's a green Corian, and we bought the last 3 slabs that exist on the planet. I hunted this down.
And amazingly, just to give you an idea of my eye for detail, I just realized that we have this in the main house as well.
The internet is a wonderful thing. I scoured Korean remnant websites and was able to find the exact amount that we needed and have it shipped to a fabricator in West Palm who came on a Sunday morning and put it in for us. So we were really lucky.
So in terms of signature drinks, I've possibly oversold myself here as the mixologist. You can see there aren't that many things accessory-wise going on in the bar, but if you like a bone-dry martini or an old-fashioned, then you're in luck.
So we have in our main house, we have an open kitchen in our family room, and it's great because we can see the kids all the time. We have a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 6-year-old. Here, what's kind of fun is we can make a huge mess and then go into another room and not look at the mess anymore. So in the closed kitchen, you can actually remove yourself from the workplace and go into the pretty room without it all being mixed in one space.
I always have an opinion. It doesn't mean it's necessarily right or listened to, and I think that's how it should be. And that's the same when it comes to design. There are maybe 1 or 2 surprising things, I think, around the house where I would try and stake a claim and say that it was my idea. But really, I know my lane and I try and stay in it, and Cece's the expert, and I defer to her.
Let's go to the sunroom. Follow us.
Welcome to the sunroom.
This is the sunniest room in the house because we have 2 huge windows that are wall to wall and floor to ceiling. And this seems to be every man's favorite place to sit, even though it's pink. Some of the things that are special in here are the trim detail that you see around the ceiling. Again, this being a 1950s ranch house, there is no architectural detailing. It is literally cement block walls. There's no crown molding, there's no window casing. So it's our job as designers to create interest in a room with nothing happening. So this is actually PVC that's been laser cut out by a company called Fuller Architectural Panels. They can create any design that you want, and he's really a creative guy, the man David who runs it. He makes fences, he makes lattice rooms. He can pretty much make your dreams come true, and we work with him a lot. And then behind that, we have installed a raffia wall covering just to be a little unexpected. You usually expect wallpaper on the walls, but we put it on the ceiling instead. So a lot of the furniture in here we inherited. I grew up with this coffee table out in Long Island. And the other pieces were just from other houses. The side tables here are new, and then this is a vintage piece from Palm Beach Regency, one of the better wicker stores in West Palm Beach, our favorite. And this is just where the kids close the door after dinner and come and watch a movie. It's kind of like a little library, which is what makes it special. What's funny about this room is everyone we know walks in the front door and wants to sit in here. I think because it's a small room, people actually feel enclosed and happy in here. There's something about the proportions of the room that just make you want to be in here.
I think the location as well, it doesn't feel too central to the house, but it feels a great place to, I like coming in here with coffee, reading the paper. When you look through the windows, you can see the sunrise and the sunset. It's an amazing place. In the corner, you can see everything that's really going on. We're right on the corner lot here as well with both streets, so it just feels like it's all happening in here. I think we'd owned the house for perhaps 2 weeks, maybe 1 week, when unfortunately someone actually broke in and smashed the window here, which at the time was heartbreaking. We felt like this was a safe place, and then we knew someone had come in and caused some damage. So that's what led us to actually changing the window and the layout and possibly the whole house to an extent, because the big windows we've put in are not just functional, they're hurricane impact, but they let so much light in, and it's not an expense we thought we would do. It's a big one, but it was certainly worth doing.
So we use this house for our family primarily. We have a huge trampoline, as Nick mentioned, in the yard. We invite people to our house for dinner, but we have dinner here. And we really use it as kind of an extension of our main house, which is just across, a couple steps away. What's nice is it's always set up for a party. So the idea of just using it for fun is magic to us, because you can walk into this whole new setting and entertain, which we weren't really doing in our house with 3 little kids, stuff everywhere.
First and foremost, probably useful for some little bit of peace and quiet, and let the kids run around here outside and make as much mess as they want. But then it's almost like we have a part of our house that they really don't go into that is always party ready or dinner party ready or ready for friends to come over, put it that way.
We do movie nights here with our kids. They love sleeping over here. It's like they ask every weekend if they can come over. So it's just a fun little adventure for us.
So this is maybe the room on the inside that we did the least in, perhaps. I think where we put a lot more time and effort into, at least in ours, is the lovely bedroom. So why don't you come and take a look?
Welcome to the queen guest bedroom that we call the wicker room. We hand stenciled this ourselves, and actually our children helped us create this pattern on the walls with a simple stencil that we taped up and would use a roller. And now you feel like you're in a wicker basket. So that was the most fun thing for us in this room. Again, there are no architectural details, so we added some by just painting color in the corners and around the window and doors, just to create sort of like a tape trim that you would see on an upholstered wall. The curtains in here are, again, Etsy, that we found. The pattern just made us happy. It's palm trees. We're in Palm Beach, so West Palm Beach. It just made sense. And then we have a wicker headboard that we bought on Amazon. And we just love wicker. The use of wicker here is just a natural material, so it makes good sense. And these little French specimen pieces were actually picked up by a newer store on Dixie Highway called Heirlooms. Nikki there has an insane collection of antique rugs, and probably the coolest rug showroom I've been to, where she lays the rugs out for you and your clients with big lighting and beautiful photographs, which in the antique rug world is very unusual to find. So I visit her quite often and picked these up along the way. We had a wood floor in here that was parquet, and it had a lot of damage from the blue shag carpet that covered it for a long time.
And not just from the carpet, right? I mean, if we were standing here 9 months ago, I'd be about 1 foot shorter as we had holes in the floor. And
there was a hole here. So we had to fix that, and we patched it up and hired a professional painter to come in and put the green paint on so it wouldn't wear off. This was a painting I actually picked up when I lived in New York City. That's when I was interning with Decor, the bespoke mural company. And we used to go down to the little flea markets and pick up pieces from artists that were there. So that's probably the first painting I ever bought myself.
I think the trick to making budget-friendly decor feel high-end is rooting, looking for the diamond in the rough, going to the stores where things are priced nicely and not just taking the first thing that's in there, but really looking for something that you actually like. And case in point might be the bedside tables here, which I really liked spending about 8 hours building and putting together with their tiny screws, but it was budget friendly and they look great in the room.
I almost lost Nick on that one. he almost quit the guest house. But you're a trooper.
So welcome to the master bathroom. I think this is perhaps the most vintage room and the least touched during the renovation. Is that fair?
Yeah, we didn't do anything to this tile. This is probably from the 1950s. And we painted, we put a shutter in the window, and this light fixture is probably the most special thing. It's by a company called Stray Dog Designs. We do a lot of work in Boca Grande at the Gasparilla Inn, a really special place. And Stray Dog has made huge amounts of completely custom light fixtures. One was 14 feet high and was a swirl of fish. So they're really a cool company out of Mexico, and it's all paper mache and handmade. So I love working with them.
And for those who are doing anything like this and working to a budget, you'll see that the bathtub it's set in. It would have been easy, not literally, but easy to rip that out and tempting to put a new one in. But actually, for what, $100 or so, we were able to have the existing original bathtub refinished and brought back to life. And I think that was much more fun in keeping the character of the house. And the doors, by the way, the doors for the bedrooms, I think all came from Home Depot.
Yeah,
right? But they made a big difference, just a little tweak like that. Should we go and see the master bedroom?
Yes.
Come with us.
Welcome to the primary bedroom of the guest house. This is our king bedroom, the main bedroom that most people use. And this is where Nick and I have spent the most time working with our hands. So every one of these flowers we actually painted. Well, we started by painting the walls blue, and then we painted the flowers on top. You can see in here, again, that we have used a trick. Instead of a crown molding, we actually painted a scallop around the edge of the ceiling just to create something fun to look at. When you're lying in bed looking up at a white ceiling, it's not as much fun as having something there. We picked up a lot of this stuff along the way. Nick and I drove down to Del Rey to get this chair. The guy practically couldn't wait to get rid of it.
I think the furniture in here is fun, is everything has its own story. The bedside table has moved with us at least one time. I think at some time it was in one of our children's bedrooms, if not two. The desk used to be a different color. It was a darker color, and as you might see in the house, the theme, it tends to be brighter, or at least paired with white, so we had that painted. And this was something that was new, which I was delighted with when we opened it up and didn't require assembly.
In here, we have bamboo curtain poles that have a painted detail. And this is kind of a fun thing. So my grandmother was the first person to receive a master's certificate from the Isabella O'Neill School for Hand Finishing in New York City, which is a very specialized faux finishing school that probably has the best finishes that you can find. And so it's in my blood a bit to get hands-on with the paintwork here. And I think that's what really drove us to take some risks in the house, is that I just feel like in my soul that at some point I need to start using my own hands to do some of these things. So this was the first time I was able to do that, and I'm really happy Nick was along for the ride. The rug in here is new. It's West Elm, and the bed skirt actually came from my mother's house. She's redoing her house now and had this bed skirt, which we were lucky enough to have, because again, it's a proper bed skirt, and it just was a great coincidence that these two things were friendly together. We bought the sheets at Target. They have a little pattern on them, which I always think is fun to have something on the bed other than just white sheets. So the whole thing together really ended up working out. I love most about this guest house is that it gives our 3 little girls somewhere to play. Our house is a courtyard house. It has a pool in the middle, and it has about 3 feet of grass around the pool where they could play. And we always felt like we kind of lived in a city, and that our kids didn't have the chance to just run around in the grass. And when we bought this and knocked the fence down, I think that was one of the happiest days of our life. And our girls run around here all the time. To be honest, the house was just a bonus. But now that it's here, I think my favorite part of it is that we are entertaining more. It gives us a fun place to go that we didn't have.
I agree 100%. Really, the idea behind it was, we were sort of torn, well, not really torn, but it was 2 reasons to buy it. Was to have the yard for the girls, but also, honestly, so that someone else didn't come and build a great big house and take that little bit more of our privacy, which everyone likes to have, but in an area that's fast growing, sometimes that can get lost when new houses are built and doubled up. And then we sort of looked at each other and said, okay, what do we do with the house that's actually on the land here? And we toyed with doing nothing, to be honest, and just leaving it. And then we thought, actually, it could be fun to see what we can do, what CC can do. Welcome to the twin bedroom, as we call it, or the blue room. Possibly the one that gave us the most headaches. I think if the rest of the house gave CC sleepless nights, this is the room that gave me all of mine. We made a decision to pull up the floor in here once we realized there was terrazzo, having seen it in the rest of the house and loving it. What we didn't expect was to get halfway through pulling up the top level of the floor and realized whoever poured the terrazzo stopped, and what then flowed was just solid gray concrete. So we made a decision initially to glue some vinyl tiles down, which weren't very Florida friendly, and started popping straight back up. So from there we took those back out, cleaned off the glue, and then painted the floor blue.
We chose the floor color to be a dark blue so that it wouldn't show marks and all the things you don't want it to show. And then we painted the walls and the ceiling in sort of a paler blue. And so we do call this the blue room because it is very blue. But we also wanted it to be a fun kids room if we had friends or family staying here. And so this is the only room that has twin beds. And the fish that you see above, this is something that we love to do, is to create sort of a series of something interesting instead of just your classic art. So we found a Romanian woman on Etsy, again, who makes these in all different colors, and we hung them in sort of a school of fish pattern just to give the room something fun. But this was definitely the most challenging room. It had wood paneling on the walls that we had to take off. Again, the floor, which Nick already talked about, and then it has all the electrical for the whole house. We have to live with this. It is what it is. This is part of living in an old, funky house. We actually had to redo all the electrical in the house to add smoke detectors just because it's 2024 and they still didn't have smoke detectors in the house, which was terrifying. So this desk was actually here. It sat right here, and we thought if this is a kid's room, this is the cutest little place to color or do something. So we saved it when we were kind of destroying the rest of the finishes that were here. And this is just a neat like rush ottoman as a chair that can tuck under there and not be in the way. These are sort of an Indian-inspired blanket just at the foot of the bed to add color, and same with the pillows on the bed. Again, not just white linens. We have our kids' books in here in case we do have a sleepover, their favorite thing in the world. And so it's home. This is our part of our home. The dresser is a really neat piece from Palm Beach Regency, and it's just an old classic Florida look with the split rattan, and it's good storage. If you actually follow me over to the bathroom, this is where we came up with the blue room, because as you can see, the existing tiles are blue and yellow, and we love the funkiness of this. So we wanted to preserve this and basically create a room that would come off of this bathroom so that we wouldn't have to destroy any of what was there. But I mean, I just love like the little soap holder in blue. It's so quirky. So this was the beginning and this was the result.
The word home for me, home is where the heart is. You know, my home, as I will sometimes say, let's go home, let's take the kids to England. But home is here as well, and so I mean it when I say home is where the heart is, because I moved here to be with Cece, and now we have our little family.
I think that wins. I don't have anything to say. Home is where you are, babe.
Today on Homeworthy, we're taking you to Palm Beach, Florida for a look inside interior designer Jessica Lagrange's show-stopping home. Jessica fondly named the home Coup de Fleur, or Love at First Sight, since it captured her heart the moment she stepped inside. An extensive renovation allowed Jessica to capitalize on the home's already great bones and fully embrace the Palm Beach aesthetic. So much so that she even designed an incredible grotto-inspired powder room that is covered with seashells. Throughout the home, you'll notice layers of pink screens and traditional elements, completed, of course, with a touch of glamour. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Jessica Lagrange. Welcome to my home in Palm Beach. Come on in and let me show you around. Hi Homeworthy, I'm Jessica Lagrange, an interior designer in Chicago and Palm Beach. Last time we were together, we were at my home in Chicago. and I'd love to share with you my home in Palm Beach. When we bought this house about 3 years ago, the house had undergone several renovations. I think the last one was probably 10 years prior. It was fine, but it was nothing special. We thought we'd live here during COVID, see what it was like. Of course, we knew we could improve upon it, and that's what started this renovation. Much more complex than we imagined. Mechanical was not up to date. A lot of the finishes, of course, were not up to date, but it's easy to take care of. I think what we did first was to make this foyer a little bit more special. We aligned some of the openings, which were not aligned. We put in this beautiful limestone floor from Paris Ceramics, very Regency Palm Beach style with the black and white checkerboard pattern. I also developed with Fromental, a wonderful wall covering line, this gorgeous hand-painted wall covering on grass cloth. We customized the colors and the placement of everything. The staircase was here, very appropriate for the house, we felt, so we didn't change it. Did some great lighting by Paul Ferrante, and found these beautiful vintage garden statues at a store in West Palm called Casa Gusto. They're my favorite, my little pink flamingos, cast iron pink flamingos. Another favorite piece in the entry that I found is this beautiful plaster table from Liz O'Brien Antiques. It looks like the inside of a shell. I paired it with two kind of chinoiserie vintage chairs that we found and a contemporary mirror. So I think it's a good mix. I like to mix things up, and I think you'll find that as we go through the house. We bought this house a couple of years ago because my partner and I wanted a secondary home. He wanted to be somewhere warm. He's semi-retired now, so he wanted to spend more time in a warm destination. We came down to Florida, fell in love with Palm Beach. We had a little bit of history here, but not a lot. We toured the island from end to end and luckily ended up on the north end of the island. Steve was going to be spending more time in this house than I am, because I am still working. And he tends to be a little bit more colorful, a little bit more traditional. So this house was designed differently than our house in Chicago. We're not in an urban environment. It's much more relaxed. And I think there's a lot of use of color here that I don't typically use. So that was the direction that we wanted to go. We embraced kind of the Palm Beach aesthetic, a lot of pinks and greens and traditional elements. So you'll see that throughout the house. One of the things we wanted to do in this home is add an elevator. This house is only 2 stories, but we knew as we were possibly aging in place that an elevator would be helpful. So we took the front hall closet and turned it into an elevator, which has been very helpful with guests and suitcase. So that was a nice addition that we did. And I love this chandelier, this Giacometti-inspired chandelier that hangs in the middle of the space. It's by Bourgeois Boheme, and a little plaster and gold leaf, and I just think it looks stunning here. I'd love to show you my favorite room in the house. It's the smallest room in the house, but by far the most spectacular. Right off the foyers, we have our powder room. And it was my dream to do a grotto-inspired powder room. And this is definitely special. I tried to propose this to a client once, but they didn't quite understand it. But luckily, I was able to do it for myself. I came in contact with a wonderful, wonderful artist here in West Palm by the name of Krista. And she has a shop called Krista Seashells. And we came up with a design and she executed it for us. And you've got to get in here and take a peek because it's beyond beautiful. We customized the colors of all the shells, designed the sconces, the mirrors. The ceiling is reflective of the sky with mother of pearl. And there are also starfish that represent stars in the sky. And I could just sit in here for hours, to be honest. It's truly, truly special. Another piece that we added was the conch shell sink, a beautiful faucet that comes out, just 1 temperature of water, and a beautiful bone inlay console. So it is definitely the most special room in the house and deserves to be highlighted. I just love it, and so does everybody that comes here. This is our living room, and there's definitely something special in our living room that I want to highlight. I have a beautiful, beautiful pearl galleon, which I think is so reminiscent and just speaks to me of Palm Beach. I have a favorite artist that I've used in my other home, and her name is Anne Carrington. And she does these surreal sculptures. It's all out of brooches and necklaces, and to me it just screamed Palm Beach. So we have it positioned between our bookcases, and it's definitely a talking point when people come into the living room. Another favorite piece that I love is above the fireplace, and it brings a little edge, I think, to our space. There's a famous fashion photographer, Melvin Sokolsky, and this is his photograph of Matchstick Girl. And I just love the look on her face with the matchstick in her mouth, and brings a little sexiness to the space, I think. It's a hodgepodge of different furnishings in here, different periods, pieces we've reused from other residences. Love the chairs that are done in a vellum finish. Beautiful, beautiful Holland and Sherry trim that we custom colored for the edge of the draperies. And also what is special about this room is the paint color. The paint color is a Faro and Ball color called Setting Plaster. And we've used it on a couple jobs, and I've used it here in our living room and also outside at the Folly. And there's something about this color that is just incredible. It's not too pink. Everyone looks good in it. And I don't know, I think it's very, very successful in here. If you take a look around on the back wall here, we've got an installation of gold butterflies by an artist by the name of Paul Valinsky. It's a migration. I just think it looks very, very graceful and adds a little depth to the walls. Oh, another favorite piece of mine, and I have a good story about this, is this wonderful collectible Tony Duquette lamp. I had used this in a showcase house many years ago, and it was stopped. It wasn't being produced anymore. And I came across it on eBay, and I had to go to the Costco parking lot and do an exchange for somebody to get this beautiful piece. I felt like I was doing a drug deal or something, but I did end up with the Tony Duquette lamp, which I really think is special and stands on its own. As I said, the wonderful artist Krista that did our powder room and a few pieces in our house also did this fun bust on the table. She is just, her work is incredible, and you'll see it, a few of her pieces repeatedly throughout the house, and I'll point them out, but love the bust. We have so many wonderful flowers here. It's so much fun to find flowers you don't normally find in Chicago. We can just go out and pick them off our bushes, and we found some beautiful flowers here in the living room. Again, it's a collection of pieces I've had. As you know from my other home, I love to collect, and you'll see that repeated throughout our house here. We originally planned this living room with this beautiful flat sisal. I believe it was from Stark Carpet. And it just, when we moved in here, I felt like it needed another layer. So we found this rug. I think I found it online. The colors were perfect. It's by SKL, and I just layered it on top of the sisal, and I think it brings a little bit more depth and color to the room. Walking into this house for the very first time, Steve and I both looked at each other and said this was it. Hence, we've named the house Coup de Fou. Coup de Fou means love at first sight. So we've taken that and we've put we've started to personalize some things around the house with the saying coup de fou. So it was love at first sight. I have a few other favorite pieces I'd love to share with you. We had this beautiful little seahorse table from Ironies here with a pink shagreen top that I just adore. It seemed to be perfect for the Palm Beach aesthetic. And my second favorite piece is a chair over here by Paul Schmidt. I happen to have a second chair just like this in my other home. He doesn't make these anymore, but I just love it. And it doesn't look very comfortable, but it's actually very, very comfortable. And I just love it by itself. It's a piece of art and has become extremely collectible. Let's take a peek at my dining room, because this is where it all really started. When we first purchased the house, I was out looking at all the great stores on Dixie Highway. There's so many wonderful design shops here in Palm Beach. And one of the first pieces I saw was this beautiful shell chandelier at a shop on Georgia Avenue called Devonshire. If you haven't been to Devonshire, you need to go to Devonshire. And I just fell in love with the colors, and this was the beginning of the palette for the house. We also had a rug that Steve had in his previous home that was in pinks, and I don't know, it just spoke to me. Between the chandelier and the rug, that was the beginning of my color palette for this house. I think what I really love in this dining room is the beautiful leather chairs. It's a kid skin leather with the horsehair back. The backs are really beautiful, and it, again, pinks and grays, and I don't know, the color palette to me just sings in here. I felt we wanted to add a little glamour to the house. I love working with antique mirror, aigle-mazet. I have it in my other home, and I felt this would kind of dress up this dining room without being, you know, too ostentatious. So we have a wonderful source for antique mirror, and we did some paneling and did some insets. We did the little gold buttons, which are really beautiful. I thought I did a wonderful job with the antique mirror. We found some antique sconces on Cherish and had a dining table and reupholstered some chairs, and I don't know, it came together. But I love the glow in here at night with candlelight. Usually I have a lot of candles on my table, and it just literally glows and everyone looks beautiful in these colors. Another reason that this room just glows at night is the beautiful metallic wall covering we put on the ceiling that has just a little bit of pink in it as well. And again, at night with all the lights down low and the candle lights, the ceiling, the carpets, all the colors, it's beautiful together. Welcome to the loggia. This is where we really spend a lot of time out here. It's great indoor-outdoor living. It's one of our favorite spaces in the house, and let me show you some of the beautiful details. I love the combination of the pink and black out here. The black wicker furniture kind of takes the edge off the pink and not so sweet. We sit out here all the time. We love to entertain out here. I love my collection of Moroccan pottery that I found on my last trip to Morocco. Another highlight out here are my staghorn ferns. I have a big collection of staghorn ferns. They were in my house in Chicago at one time when I lived in Lincoln Park, and we had them brought down here, and they're thriving down here, and I just think they're so sculptural and so beautiful. We have them on all the walls. So I really embraced the pink and black out here. I did a special backgammon table with one of my suppliers in Morocco. Found this great monkey table. Monkeys are a thing in Palm Beach. I don't know if you know, but Meisner, the architect, always carried a monkey on his shoulder. So monkeys are rather iconic down here. Love the sisal rug. And I don't know, it's a very comfortable space for us to be. I did a little chair for my grandchild over here, so she feels included, and painted it in that beautiful setting plaster pink color from Farrow and Ball. The fans are wonderful out here to keep the circulation going, and it's great. We love it. Watch a lot of TV out here. As I said, we spend a lot of time here in the loggia. We're lucky that we can have screens come down when it's buggy and the hurricane shutters come down. But after we leave the loggia, we go out to the pool area. When we bought the house originally, the pool was going the other direction, and to us it needed to be horizontal with the house. So we took out the existing pool. We put in an outdoor fireplace, and the best part was we designed this beautiful, I'll call it our folly, a little pool house that was so much fun to design and plan the interior. Let me show you the folly. We were thinking about adding a pool house, but I wanted to do something whimsical, and I think I succeeded. It's a pagoda-inspired folly with a beautiful copper roof, the scallop detailing at the top, the doors that open up. It's the best. My grandchildren like to hang out in here, and when we have parties, people like to come in here. Let me show it to you. Come on. Welcome to our folly. We had fun with this. If you don't know what a folly by definition is a costly ornamental building. And this fits the definition for sure. It actually turns into a bedroom. This is a sofa here, but it can turn into a king-size bed. We just moved the table, and we have a full bathroom to the right, and then also a little kitchenette over here. So it's fun to use this during parties. My grandchild likes to come out here and hang out, and the views from here are incredible, overlooking the pool. We added the lattice work, the tented ceiling, added some antique mirror behind some of the lattice work. I came across these giant parrots at an antique show in Chicago that I had to have. They just seemed perfect for Palm Beach. I love the Fortuny light fixtures that flank the sofa, the Moroccan tables, a great 19s kind of 60s table I found on Cherish that we painted, and it's just fun to sit in here. I think this is something that my granddaughter loves the most, is the candy bar. She loves to come in here and get candy. And then we set up a bar in here for parties, and couldn't ask for more. It's really fun. Another showstopper in this room is the beautiful chandelier. It's a silk-wrapped chandelier by Helene Aumont, and we were able to custom color the tassels and the cording and everything. I think it's beautiful in here. Another favorite source in West Palm is a shop. It's called Casa Gusto. And not only do they have exquisite furniture and collectibles, but they also do a line of papier-mâché, decorative leaves, and they even do papier-mâché rooms, if I remember correctly now. But if you don't know Casa Gusto, you need to go there. But we love to layer in different things. Also, you have to take a peek at this powder room. I've used these beautiful Moroccan tiles a great wallpaper. It's just fun. Love, again, the pink tiles, not too pink. And it serves us well when we're all at the pool. Something I came across in my shopping in Palm Beach were these pictures of follies, and I thought they'd be very appropriate in here. They're by an artist, Mary McGuire, so I put 6 different follies on either side of the entrance to the kitchenette. I think one of the toughest jobs as an interior designer is to decorate your own home. We just have so many things available to us, and it's hard to make choices, and it's difficult. I don't hate it, but there are too many choices out there, and it's so much easier to design for a client than it is for myself, to be honest. But I've enjoyed the process. I'm lucky to be able to do it. Let's take a walk outside of the folly. This is our backyard. We did the new pool. I think what's great is the outdoor fireplace that we did. It's covered with a lot of bougainvillea right now, but it is a pagoda-shaped fireplace that replicates the folly at the other end. It's been a great space for entertaining. We removed the chaises. We've done 2 long tables on either end, on either side for dinner parties. The weather here in Palm Beach is incredible, so it's fun to be out here. We've have some nice grassy area over here where we've played croquet and bocce ball. And another feature that I'd love to show you is this little fountain that we did to the side of the building. When we were designing the folly, we decided it'd be nice to have some running water out here. In my home in Chicago, I had a fountain in my backyard, and this was the fountainhead that I took from Chicago and brought down here, and we designed this little fountain. Just the sound of running water to me is just so relaxing. So this is always on. And then we had this kind of useless area between the loggia and the fountain, and we turned it into a little 3-hole golf course, so a little pitch and putt. And when the kids come here, they love it. Even the adults love it. So we incorporated this a little bit later after we moved in. Let me show you the rest of the house. Come on inside. Let me show you our little bar area. We were able to create this little bar area by taking some of the library. And what's special about this bar area is this beautiful faux green tortoise finish by an incredible artist, painter, Joseph Steyart here in Palm Beach. I can't say enough about his work. He just does beautiful work. So we made it. I love little bars. I have one in my home in Chicago. Love to collect silver things. We've got some martini shakers. This is our little coup-de-fou napkins with our logo on them. I've got some of our tableware over here on the other side and some silver. And as I said, we love to entertain in this house, so it's nice to have this little place to keep all my linens and place settings. As I've mentioned to Homeworthy before, I love to collect things on Live Auctioneer, and I love to collect silver. I found these little beautiful salt cellars that are made out of shells, collected a few of those. I was able to design some special china with a chinoiserie pattern with the colors of the house that I think are really beautiful. And again, just a lot of odds and ends from both of our homes, and we've brought things down here that seem appropriate. Let's go take a look at the kitchen. The kitchen is right next to our dining room, and one of the architectural changes we made in the house was to add these beautiful embrasure doors. So if we're having more formal dinner parties, we do like to close off the dining room from the kitchen. So come follow me. So one of the improvements we did do in the house was to design a new kitchen. The kitchen was very serviceable that was here, but it was just very dated looking. And one of the first things I fell in love was with this color, a Farrow and Ball color called French Gray, but it really reads as a green to me. And again, was in the palette of colors that I was developing for the home. I love hand-painted cabinets. These were not lacquered or sprayed. They were hand-brushed, so they looked like they were original to the home. I used some beautiful Calcutta stone on the countertops and on the backsplashes. We designed a beautiful custom hood, different metals with some sconces on either side. Again, all the cabinetry is painted, unlacquered brass hardware. We used a beautiful stained wood for the island, and I just think it all goes together with the other colors in the home. We tried not to use too much downlighting in the space. We did surface-mounted decorative fixtures. Again, not necessarily of the period, but they look like they would belong. Another vendor that we like to use a lot is Waterworks, and we've used Waterworks plumbing fixtures throughout most of the house, especially here in the kitchen. a beautiful walnut countertop in the back, and a secondary prep kitchen there. It's an easy kitchen, and we all gather in here and have had great times. The kitchen is right next to our family room. I think at one time the family room was an addition to the home, and we kept it open, and again carried the same color into this space, and have a lot of comfortable seating. A lot of times when it's a little hot outside, we're in this room instead. And swivel chairs, a beautiful hand-loomed rug, again in the pinks and greens, a dining table that actually came with the house that we had refinished and added some comfortable seating. I love the sewn adjustable fixtures with the pleated fabric shades over the dining table, and it's great. We love it in here. Again, you'll have to look at some of my collections. As I've told you before and you've seen from my other home, I do have a thing for collecting. I have a series of hands. Don't ask me why I've collected hands. I just thought they were sculptural and beautiful. Back in my flea market days, I was buying trophies. I did not earn all those trophies or win those trophies, but they were giving them away for nothing, so I think they all look beautiful grouped together. One of the fabrics that we found that helped set the palette for this room is a beautiful butterfly drapery it's from a company called Radish Moon, and they're butterfly wings. Again, seemed very appropriate for Florida, and the colors were spot on with the rug and everything else in this house. One of the best things about the family room is the connection to the outdoors. To one side is the loggia, where we also spend a lot of time, and then we also are right in front of the pool. So there's a lot of back and forth between the family room, kitchen, and the pool area. One of my favorite things out here is I love these towels that I had made in Italy. We go to a special little beach town in Italy, and they have these wonderful towels that hook onto the chaises. So I had some made for our chaises here, and all our guests loved them. These were a great find. Not sure you can still get them, but the colors with the black and the pink were from Anthropology. And they serve as little tables for our guests. And the beautiful scalloped umbrellas we love. With the pink, I've repeated it on the retractable awning over the dining area. And it's just a very comfortable area. We grill out here. My son loves the big green egg, and everyone else likes the grill. We've got a little herb garden here. And the bougainvillea is just incredible. As we all know in Florida, landscaping, it's everywhere. And the bougainvillea has just taken off in the last couple years. One of the best views in the house is upstairs of the terrace. And let's go up there and take a peek, because we love to sit up there for sunset and see everything that goes by. Come on up. So a nice addition we did to the home was to add this exterior staircase to make the second level terrace more accessible for our guests. Before it was only accessible through bedrooms, but this makes it a little bit nicer instead of having to go through someone's bedrooms. But what's special up here are the views. Our home is located on the intercoastal on the north end of the island in Palm Beach. And to see all the boats that come through here, it's amazing. It's so beautiful to sit up here at sunset. Like to bring up a glass of wine, sit outside and watch life go by. Come on over to the seating group and let me show you some of my favorite pieces up here. I designed a beautiful coffee table. I found some old Moroccan tiles and had a metal base made. Again, the colors were spot on. I was in Morocco a couple times, and I'd say about 10 years ago I found these beautiful plates. Didn't know what I was gonna do with them, but found a perfect situation for them here and mounted them on the wall. Same furniture that we've used downstairs, but again, it's all about the views up here and the bougainvillea, and it's just very lush, very, very lush. Two of our bedrooms open onto the terrace, so let's go check out some of the bedrooms. We'll go this way. Here we are in one of our guest bedrooms. I call it the blue bedroom. We have 5 guest bedrooms. We've done them all in king size beds. Everyone seems to be happy with king size. And love this room, these beautiful hand-painted chests from Casa Gusto. We've tried to make all the bedrooms more or less the same, but different color combinations, so nobody's arguing about what bedroom they're gonna get. They all have beautiful antique ceiling fixtures, starburst ceiling fixtures. Each one is different in every room. A beautiful ikat rug that we have here, and beautiful Matouk linens. Again, all the same linens in the same room, so nobody's fighting over what room is more comfortable. Something I love to do, and I want to give you a peek at this, is I love to wallpaper the insides of closets. So this closet is all wallpapered in a beautiful bookbinding paper. We've done a different color in every room. Let me give you a little peek at the bathroom too. which is here. Again, done in a more traditional wallpaper pattern, but we've done all the bathrooms with the same vanity, just different colors, the same mirror, the beautiful scallop mirror, waterworks fixtures, and beautiful sewn sconces on either side. So all the bathrooms are consistent, but in different colorways. When my guests arrive, I love to have fresh flowers everywhere. So I make sure their room always has a little bouquet next to the bed or some other areas also in the bathroom. But I think fresh flowers are important to make a home look welcoming. I want to speak to you a little bit about the artwork in this foyer. It was really fun collecting artwork for this house. And I have a good friend and dealer in Chicago, Richard Norton, that I love working with. And he came across these sketches by an artist by the name of Harold Hayden. And they are done on the back of placemats in the 1950s. And again, the pink was just the perfect pink. And I stacked them all in here. And I just think it makes for a very welcoming foyer to the guest room. Let me show you another one of our guest rooms. We call this one the pink room. Again, it's a very soft pink. It's a dirty pink. It's not cotton candy or Barbie pink. Again, king-size bed, beautiful hand-painted chests from Casa Gusto. Again, I've used them in all the guest bedrooms. We had some beautiful Audubon bird prints that we put on this wall that Steve had in his home, and a sisal jute wool rug, again in a very kind of light pink tone. And this is one of everyone's favorite rooms to stay in, to be honest. It's a Robert Keim drapery fabric. It's comfortable and welcoming, and it's our pink room. As I've said with our bathrooms, we've tried to be consistent with all the vanities, the plumbing fixtures, the mirrors, but we did a different color combination in this room. I used a faux green wall covering in a very subtle green color. I love the biting lip rug, gives it a little edginess in here. And some metal toll flowers, and this one has a tub shower combination. I was able to source another vintage gold starburst ceiling fixture, and we've used them in all the guest bedrooms. They're all similar but different, and just adds a little consistency between the rooms, and I love bringing in some vintage pieces with some of the new pieces. I'd love to show you another collection I started a while ago, and it just seems appropriate here. This is a little foyer where our elevator opens up on the second floor. And I started collecting, not on purpose, but I saw them in an antique show, beautiful tortoise shells. And I brought them down here to Florida, and I've increased the collection, and it just looks perfect in here. I love these antique tortoise shells. This is the foyer on the second floor, and let me take you into the master suite and show you some things that we've done there. This is the entrance to the master suite, and it's very special to me. I've always been intrigued by grotto furniture, and I was able to find this beautiful antique grotto settee that was the basis for this entry. A beautiful Swedish flat weave rug from Doris Leslie Blau in New York. Again, spot on with the colors. But what's really special to me is this large photograph. My son Remy is a photographer, and he was on the train and going super fast, and this was the picture he took out of the window, and we blew it up. And the colors, again, the pinks and the greens were just perfect in this house, so we made it really large. I love the contrast of the vintage grotto settee with his contemporary photograph. This is the master suite, another special room in the house because of the incredible views. We're on the second floor of the house, and we overlook the intercoastal. And to wake up and to see all these beautiful palm trees and the boats that come by and the blue water is certainly special. Very large master suite. When we bought the house, the bed was on a different wall, but we had to realign some of the openings, so there was some symmetry in the house. And we chose this window wall for the bed. Again, I've collected different periods, different types of furniture. I have to say, though, one of my favorites are these beautiful, beautiful Tony Duquette lamps that I found that are in I guess, a metal coral design with the shell, and I was so fortunate to find these. They're, I think, stunning. I love these. They don't really provide a lot of light for reading, but they look good. A vintage ceramic mirror that I found at a store in Chicago, and again, another one of my favorite textiles is this Chelsea Editions embroidered drapery fabric that we use. I also used it in Chicago, a different version with bugs on it, but this one is a floral pattern. I have a a special ikat rug that I found in New York, the beautiful light fixtures from Paul Ferrante. I don't know, it's just a combination of different periods and styles and furniture that I had in storage and left over. I love the Rose Tarlo black chinoiserie chair here. This is a piece I picked up on First Dibs and had refinished. A sofa that we had in one of our homes that we reupholstered, and it's just, it's comfortable and it feels good here. Let's go take a look at the primary bath. That was fun to do too. Let me show it to you. When the house was built originally, there was only one window in this bath, and we wanted some symmetry again, so we added an extra window on this side so we could get two vanities. I floated these beautiful mother of pearl and oyster shell mirrors that we designed in front of each window. I loved this pattern in here. You're going to see it repeated in the shower. We did it as some tile work in the shower. Beautiful stone vanities, again, very classic. There was a company we worked with called Collier Webb to design this beautiful alabaster light fixture and also the shell sconces that are on either side. Fromentel helped me with the beautiful wallpaper on the ceiling and a beautiful freestanding tub. And another favorite drapery fabric that I was finally able to use in one of my interiors is Isadora by Gretchen Bellinger. And it's reminiscent of a Fortuny fabric. It's all crinkled silk. And I think it's just a classic, and it just looks beautiful in here. Let me show you in the shower the detail that we used from the mirror. We took the same pattern from the mirror and did an inlay in the shower, which I thought was very successful. The plumbing fixtures in the bathroom are from a company called Nons. They're doing plumbing now. They're known for their hardware, door hardware, but their plumbing fixtures are also really, really beautiful. So I've been lucky to spend my whole career in interior design. I was very fortunate that I fell into this industry, and I started out doing commercial work, and then I worked my way into doing residential work, and I've had my own office for 25 years now. I think what's unique about our office is that we don't have a particular style. Our work is always classic, whether it's contemporary or traditional. And it's been fun to do work down here in Florida. We've been doing work in the state for a while now, and none of it's the same. Again, this was designed for Steve and I and our personal tastes, and I pushed myself to use a little bit more color than I normally do, and a little bit more traditional than I would normally do, but it still works. I think it's timeless, and I love what I do, and I'm very lucky and grateful to be in this industry. Let's head down to the guest house. I'd love to show that to you as well. Welcome to our guest house. When we bought this house, it was a one-bedroom, I guess suite you would say, and you entered it from the rear of the house. We decided to extend this a little bit, get 2 bedrooms and 2 baths. We've almost created a family suite. There's a door here that can close off the 2 rooms, and there's also 2 entrances, so it could be husband and wife and child, or 2 couples, or whatever, but it's very, very versatile. We did a simpler color scheme in here. We didn't use as much color. I did it all in kind of caramel and white and dark brown. I love the little birds that we have on the top of the bed here. It's just bright and fresh. And again, a king-size bed, mixed in some antiques, the beautiful antique chairs, and they both have 2 full bathrooms. So a collection of vintage bamboo mirrors on the wall, a photograph again that my son has taken, and some Giacometti-inspired lamps, and a series of different beige and white fabrics. I think it's very, very successful. And let me show you the bathroom too, because this is very great. I love the wall covering in here. It's a Fornasetti wall covering with blowfish. So again, same vanity, fun scallop sisal rug, and just big enough with a nice, beautiful walk-in shower. Let me take you into the second room that's part of the guest house, and we call this the monkey room. So come on in, this has a good story to it. I was inspired by this beautiful Mario Torres light fixture that has monkeys hanging from it. But as I mentioned before in our story, the monkey is rather iconic here in Palm Beach, in that Addison Meisner would always carry a monkey on his shoulder, a live monkey. So we were inspired by that and the chandelier. And if you'll notice through the room, there is a monkey theme. This is where we put the grandchildren. We've got monkeys on the sheets. We've got monkeys on the lamp. We've got monkeys on the wall. So AKA the monkey room. And this turns into a trundle bed, and we can sleep a few kids in here, which is really nice. And another full bath. And it's very successful, I think. It's a happy place. So we've had such a great time making a life in Palm Beach. It was so unexpected. It's a relaxing place to be. And I can't ask for, a nicer second home. I feel very fortunate to be here, just to have a place to relax and spend time together with family and friends. So that's what makes this house special to me. I pinch myself every time driving down these streets. Thank you, Homeworthy, for coming to my house. It was really special for me to share it with you. I hope you found it as welcoming and as exciting as Steve and I have. We'll see you again soon. Thank you.
Hello, Homeworthy. I'm Natalia. Welcome to my Coral Gables home. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Be sure to visit our website, homeworthy.com, to discover amazing furniture, art, accessories, and more, all handpicked by our editors to help transform your house into a home. All of the items are inspired by the episodes you see here on Homeworthy. Enjoy!
Hello, I am Natalia Millar, and we are in my Coral Gables home today. This is a historic home in Coral Gables, which is one of the neighborhoods around Miami. The house was built in 1926 by an architect called Robert Law Weed, and it is one of 7 historic villages in Coral Gables. I've always loved the villages in Coral Gables, and particularly liked the Italian village, which is where my house is. I bought the house 3 years ago and set out to renovate it and take it back to the most original version that it could be. So the house is in an architectural revival style, which was quite common in this part of Miami in the 1920s. This is an Italianate revival, so it's meant to look like classic Tuscan homes, and it has thick walls, textured finishes, asymmetrical layout, a really wonderful floor plan. It's got an L-shaped floor plan that makes it really fabulous for all of the rooms to have at least 3 walls with windows. So it's a garden house. I've always said this is really a garden house, and all of the rooms are oriented onto this wonderful side yard courtyard that I've created. When I first saw the house, I knew that it was a very special place. It looked actually great. The previous owners had a very colorful and fun interpretation of what the house should look like. And I could see past that and realize that I could put my own stamp on the house while keeping the authentic features, architectural features alive. Well, welcome to the entrance of my home. I always think an entrance should set the tone for what you're going to see in the house. So this is where I introduced the green color theme that you'll see in so many of the rooms. This is a wonderful original staircase feature, which I love. And so all I did was refinish it and then added this wonderful jute runner in this really fabulous turquoise color. And then you also see some of the art pieces that I have here. Here on this wall, there's this wonderful work of art by a Cuban artist called Ariadna Contino. It's made with intricate layers of paper. And of course, it looks like a Miami, palm leaf garden. So it was the perfect piece to have in the entrance to showcase what you're going to see in the rest of the house. So this wonderful plaster texture that you see on the walls is very typical of what you would have seen in a 1920s Mediterranean revival style home that was built in Coral Gables. You know, these wonderful European homes didn't have just a flat finish, not a drywall finish, it's a plaster finish. And this troweled plaster effect shows, kind of expresses the material, which I think is really great. And so I have that finish here in the entrance and in the living room. And I think it just works really well. So in this entrance hall, this is where we have this wonderful terracotta floor. I bought these, they're contemporary Mexican terracotta tiles. My dad and I drove up to Palm Beach during the pandemic and found a little warehouse where they had them. But then there's a wonderful gentleman in Florida who refinishes using a type of motor oil to make them look like they're 100 years old. And I'll show you the ones in the dining room later where you can see how great the finish match is. I love this door. It's, you know, a wonderful timber paneled door, and I think it sets that tone for that old world, rustic architecture that you see in the rest of the house. So follow me now into the living room. So this is the living room, and it's the heart of the home. I don't believe that any room should be so formal that people are uncomfortable coming in and sitting down, whether they're wearing jeans or a cocktail dress. So I always make sure that I have lots of different textures in the fabric. I actually have a performance fabric on the sofa. It's pure fray, so it's fabulous. But it's very durable for all of the parties that I like to host. And here there's a combination of pieces that I've designed, like these coffee tables, which are part of my own furniture collection. And then, of course, the pretzel chairs, which are vintage, but I've recovered in this fantastic flame stitch fabric in the blues and greens shade. I think this is the first fabric that I chose for this house because I felt the color palette was just fantastic. And this is from Decor. And another of the early purchases for this house was this wonderful canvas by a local artist, Magnus Sodamine. And it's this wonderful, expressive, deeply brushstroke heavy canvas that is of a botanic garden very close to where I grew up. So not only was it the color palette, but it was the subject matter that connects very much to my own history in Florida, and that is at the heart of this wonderful room. So behind me is this wonderful fireplace, an original feature from the 1926 design by Robert Law Weed. It's actually fantastic to have, and last Christmas it was cool enough in Florida to have it on. But I love how it's on the corner of the room. It feels to me like all of these wonderful, European rooms with a corner fireplace, and it anchors the room. It also makes it a difficult room to furnish because it's quite asymmetrical. I've got 2 doors, 2 windows, another opening into the entrance, and the fireplace. So it was an interesting space to have to figure out how to furnish. I knew that I wanted to showcase this sofa. This is a sofa that I designed inspired by a David Hockney painting that I had seen at a show at the Tate Modern in London. And it was a portrait of these 2 men, very, serious looking men in front of this fabulous pink velvet sofa. And I saw it in the canvas and I said, what a sexy shape. I need to make a sofa like that. So this is my Hockney sofa. And I think it just fits perfectly against this very large window. And that kind of set the tone for the way I furnished the rest of the room. But everything in here is a special piece. This wonderful ceramic basket, which I love, I bought in Paris years ago, and it looks like shark teeth, so it makes sense in Florida, but is actually ceramic. And what I love is that I'm always buying when I'm traveling. I'm always trying, I think any collector will tell you the same thing. You find beautiful things and you buy them. So I didn't actually buy anything in this room for this house, except for some of the furniture. And all of the accessories were just things that I had been collecting over time and knew one day I would find the perfect place for them. And it's this house. And then this piece here, this is by this wonderful Venezuelan artist, a ceramicist called Reynaldo Sanguino. He works in a studio in New York. I'm obsessed with his work. I think he just has the play of colors, of density of the glazes, the touch of metallic. Every time I see one of his pieces, I fall in love. So I'm a big fan. And the stool is from Reynaldo, and these two wonderful pieces that you see, the vase and the tray, are also by him. And this particular vignette, this is a composition that, again, happened quite organically. I purchased the mirror in Paris for another project, thinking the client would love it. I showed it to them in the presentation. They didn't love it, so it ended up here. And then that client came for lunch a few months ago and said, I love the mirror. I said, I bought it for you, but now it's mine. But yeah, so the mirror is from Paris. This is from a wonderful, wonderful place in Miami called Michel Contessa. He has just beautiful, one-of-a-kind pieces of furniture, and it's all the stuff that I love, and a vintage lamp. And this wonderful, wonderful side table. I grew up in Mexico, and this is from Ago Projects in Mexico, a wonderful design gallery that I love to visit. And this, again, this combination of deeply textured timber with splatter painted brick, I think is just very cool. And this piece is very special. And I have to say, I was told by the antique dealer who sold it to me, I can never sell it. And I don't think I probably would. But it's this wonderful travertine and jade screen. Again, I bought this before this house was even in my imagination. I just saw it and I fell in love with it. It's been to London where I showed it at a wonderful room that I did there, and now it's here, and it hides folding tables for parties. The decoration of the home is really meant to be an expression of my personal style. I like interiors that are deeply textured, that are layered with pieces of furniture from different styles, of different materials, of different compositions. So if anything, this house was meant to be an expression of what it is that I love about design. For this house in particular, I used a color palette that I love, which is the combination of green and blue. And you'll see different variations of green and blue throughout the whole house. And, you know, as with everything, I think a home should tell the story of its owner. I think your personal narrative should be showcased through the artwork, through the accessories, through the pieces that you have. And as this home is so personal, everything you see here is something that I've either acquired on my travels, or has been a family gift, or I've chosen because it makes sense in South Florida. It really is a very personal expression of how I like to live. When I moved into the house, I saw that there had been a lot of additions in terms of moldings and millwork and baseboards and crown molding that just wasn't appropriate to the style of the house. So all I tried to do was to take the rooms back to what I thought they would have looked like in 1926. I've been collecting for a long time, and obviously my sense of style evolves. And pieces that I loved, I don't always love in the same way, but funnily enough, at this point in my life, I feel like I've honed my taste enough so that the things that I buy, I end up really loving. And in this particular house, which I finished about 3 years ago, there's only one room that I'm still finessing, but the rest of them, I'm still as happy with the pieces that I put in when I moved in as I am today. But there's always room for something. For example, this wonderful work of art by a local Florida artist, Carlos Betancourt, is a beautiful piece that my parents gave me last year. And that's very special. And again, it looks like it was designed for this room with the turquoise and the blue. It just connects so beautifully with all the other pieces. But again, I'm such a great believer, if you buy what you love and you see something like that screen, which was so special, I knew that I would have a place for it, whether it was for myself or if it was for a client who I love to source special pieces for. I think that's one of the great things that one does as a designer. So one of the things that I think is so important when you buy a historic property is to try and maintain as much of the original features as possible. These floors, for the most part, are the original floors. Obviously, they've been repaired over the years. I had to do a little bit of repair in Florida. Obviously, you get things like termite damage, but trying to keep to this original, 3-inch board that's quite thin, but I think works really well with the scale of the room. And then I designed this wonderful rug to pick up the lines, these kind of organic lines of the pretzel chairs and the Hockney sofa. And this is one of the pieces that's in my own collection. And I love the different play of heights in the pile. So you have the flatter wool, and then you have these kind of tufted bits. Again, I'm a huge fan of texture. I think that great character in interiors comes from playing with contrasting textures. The biggest challenge that I faced during the renovation project was just trying to get as much historical information as possible about what the house had been. I bought the house right at the beginning of COVID in March of 2020. And the reality was that it had been renovated by previous owners, so a lot of the electrical systems and the plumbing were upgraded. So my renovation could primarily be cosmetic. My professional journey was not that linear, but I think from when I was a child, I was probably always meant to be an architect. I've always loved homes. I've loved traveling and visiting those museums that were a house that was frozen in time, whether it was the Newport mansions that I saw when I was at university or places I visited in Europe. I was always drawn to properties that told the story of the owners and of a time and of a place. And so after I graduated from college and I studied art history and architectural history and enjoyed that enormously because I do love history, I realized that I wanted to be more involved in a practical way and to practice architecture. So I went on to study architecture. I got my master's in that. And a few years after working here in South Florida, I moved to London, and my career shifted more into interiors, and it's been incredibly rewarding. And so now I have a wonderful practice based primarily in London, but we're also based here, where we get to do projects all over the world, and we do everything from interior architecture to interior design, furniture sourcing, product. It's a dream come true. So from the living room, the perfect room to see next is the dining room. So let me show you. So this is one of my favorite rooms in the house. It's the dining room, and the main defining feature in this space is the wallpaper. This is my Ambia wallpaper, a wallpaper that I designed in collaboration with Fromental, and I had been commissioned in London to design a Cuban-inspired room based on my Cuban heritage. And I was inspired by the work of a wonderful Cuban master, Wilfredo Lam, and I designed this, wonderful wallpaper, wall covering, because it really is a work of art. And all the panels are custom made for each room, and they're really special. I created the color tones and the textures from using different semi-precious stones, and you can see the depth of texture when you get close up. But this wonderful room is where I love hosting lots of dinner parties, actually parties, big cocktail parties, all sorts of parties. And the double height space certainly lends itself to having a dramatic room. So I had an animal theme also in this house. I have a lot of kids visiting me, my niece and my nephews. I love them all very much. And I have a game where I say, go and photograph all the animals in the room, and that entertains them for about 45 minutes, which I think is a good start. But so Daphne the giraffe lives here in the dining room, and throughout the house you'll see other animals. Wonderful works of art, again, mostly Cuban artists. This is Rafael Domenech, and that's Moisés Finale, and these are all just really special pieces because they're artists I've known, artists that have been in my parents' collection as well. So it's nice to have pieces that remind you of home. And then over here on this side of the dining room, I have these two wonderful cabinets, brutalist-inspired cabinets, which are great. And again, more ceramics and more special pieces that I bought in Paris. I think Paris is one of the greatest places that a designer can go to source beautiful pieces from these random plant people chandeliers to more work by this wonderful ceramicist that I love. So this dining room is comfortable for 8, but in a pinch I can squeeze 9. But it's also wonderful during Christmas. I set up a really big tree, and I have lots of buffets on the table. So, and it has doors that open to both sides of the garden. So it really is, this room ends up being the heart of the home in many ways. I think homes are for living, and for me, nothing is nicer than having a house full of people. So when I entertain, I love to cook. I do the cooking myself, and I love to make things that I could make in advance. I often make lots of salads or a great dish like, you know, duck confit or a wonderful puttanesca fish. Always great wines, and a cocktail for dessert. I love a liquid dessert, like an espresso martini or a Campari cake with a little shot of Negroni on the side. So this is a really interesting room because this was not originally an enclosed room. The house from 1926 would have ended here and have a caretaker's cottage and a garage on the other side. So this was an open-air loggia, which was enclosed by previous owners. And this floor, which you can see is quite, this is the old terracotta I was talking about before. It's undulating and shows its age, would have originally been an exterior floor. So I think this room has a lot of character, and you can see if you look up at the ceilings, the original wooden ceiling, which I've painted black, and then designed this pendant light, which is asymmetrical because the room is actually not symmetrical. One side of the ceiling is longer than the other. So it's a bit of a trick to make sure that the pendant is centered over the dining table, but also works when you look up at the ceiling. My favorite architectural feature of this home has to be the layout. It is so clever the way Robert Law Weed, first of all, sites, put the house on the site. Even in the hot, humid Florida summers, there's always a breeze in this house. There's always all the rooms have cross ventilation. It's incredibly clever. The thickness of the walls mean that the house stays cool in the summer and warmer in the winter. Not that it ever gets very cold in South Florida in the winter, but it's just, I'm always amazed by architects who were working without all of the benefits of technology and climate control that architects today that we work with, to see that clever design is still relevant today. It's really difficult to say what my favorite piece in the house is because I love so many of them. I have a wonderful giraffe sculpture in the dining room, a copper and brass giraffe by a Mexican artist called Sergio Bustamante. I grew up with his pieces in Mexico, where I was born and raised by my parents. And to have one of his amazing pieces, I think that's pretty special. I also love a ceramicist based in New York, a Venezuelan ceramicist, Reinaldo Sanguino. I've been collecting his pieces for a number of years after first finding him in Design Miami. And I have probably 5 or 6 pieces of his here in my house. So I wouldn't part with those. So from this wonderful dining room, I'd love to show you the outside, the side yard of the house, which is an outdoor living room, which is where we spend all our time in South Florida. This is an outdoor living room. In South Florida, we live outside. Well, practically year-round, except in the summer when it's very hot. So I really wanted this room, this outdoor room, to have furniture that felt like living room furniture. So you can see the seating area. I'll show you over here. It's deeply cushioned upholstery, wonderful. The same attention to detail in the fabrics that we used in the outside, in the inside we used on the outside. Lots of textures, patterns, and colors, and of course, vintage pieces of ceramic on the coffee tables as well. So when I moved into this house in March of 2020, the garden had so many different types of plants, and I thought it's not a huge garden, so it needed a bit more, it needed to be rationalized. And I decided to plant a garden of just Florida natives that would grow quickly. They would be in various shades of green. I love the shade of green. I love gardens that have lots of different colors of green in a concentrated space. So we planted things like silver buttonwood, caper berries, a rum tree, just these wonderful Florida native plants, and they have grown so much in 3 years. I think the garden has almost doubled in size. Now, one concession that I made to the Italianate history of the house is planting olive trees. We have 2 olive trees in the house in these wonderful bronze pots from Bronzino that are really beautiful, but the rest of the plants are Florida natives. So as I mentioned before, I'm a huge believer in contextual design, and the flooring here is a corallina, a limestone, a very typical oolitic limestone that you would find in Florida. It's what most of the houses in Coral Gables were built from. And what I love about this particular material is that it really ages so beautifully. I actually love it when it's aged and you get all of these little green mosses and plants growing in it, and it has so much character. And really, by putting in this wonderful corallina floor that unifies this space, I created an outdoor room. I split my time between London and this home in Miami. I spend probably most of my time in London, and probably about a third of my time is traveling. We have projects in Mexico, in Colorado, in Spain, in London, in Switzerland. I keep myself busy. Let's head back inside and you can see how we brought the feeling of outdoors in. So this is what we call a Florida room. It's a family room, television room, just general hangout room. In my house, it's called the kids' room. It's the kid-friendly room where all of the fabrics are pretty durable and it's cozy and it's great for watching television and movies. During Christmas, I set up a kids' Christmas tree in here. So I love that the kids in my life love to come into the house and say, can we go to the kids' room? It's also the kids' room because I put a lot of animals in here. I have a bronze dinosaur, a rhinoceros, and some of the artwork has great little animal figures as well. And as always, in my rooms, there are lots of interesting works of art that I've bought over the years from different artists, from Bedia to a wonderful artist called Lidia Rubio. And I particularly love this wonderful, wonderful bell that I bought in Design Miami a few years ago. It's from the Frank Lloyd Wright School of Design, and I just think this incredible patinaed copper is the perfect color tone in my house. This is probably the most casual room in the house. Again, I just thought this was an easy place for hanging out, for watching television. I love the playful cactus lamps. I think they talk a little bit about the relaxed nature of this room. It's just cozy, easy, with beautiful textures, but it's not very precious, which is nice. Now this room, the Florida room, is part of what was originally the caretaker's cottage. And what I've created is a little guest suite. So when I have guests, they stay in the bedroom next door, which I'll show you. But of course, this room is also their television, relaxing room. And so my guests and I can have separate spaces for total privacy. So of course, with these old houses, you work with the quirks and you find charm in them. This vestibule is right off the dining room, and I painted it this very deep shade of bottle green because I thought it was the perfect foil to the dining room. And this is that caretaker's cottage that is now the guest suite with a Florida room, a bathroom, and then the bedroom. And I really maximized the green in these rooms. This particular guest room, which I absolutely love, has this wonderful soft green wallpaper, and I think this might just be my favorite fabric in the whole house. It's a Zac and Fox in all of these wonderful shades of green, and then all of the cushions, which are a bit of a signature in our projects, to use mismatching patterns and hopefully find rhythm in connecting different styles but within the same color. So this is a cozy guest room, which I think definitely feels like you've brought the outdoors of South Florida inside. I think it's so important to make your guests feel at home when they're coming over to stay. I always try and make sure that I've slept in the room, that I've tested the linens, that I've tested the quality of the bed, that I make sure there's enough lighting in the room. I put a little desk because I know these days people like to work in their rooms when they're traveling, so I make sure that's all comfortable for anything that my guests can do. Obviously, we always have a jug of water, lots of freshly laundered towels, and just climate control. So this whole side of the house has its own air conditioning so that my guests can feel at home to have whatever temperature they're happy with. So from the guest room, I'd love to show you the guest bathroom because it's another symphony of green. I had the most incredible tiles custom made in Portugal. We sent them all of these color swatches so that they would get the perfect shade of green. And you can see in here, I love working with dark colors, and I think there's something really wonderful about the contrast between a dark room followed by a light room. It's something that I've always liked to play with in my career. And I just thought this bathroom with these brilliantly emerald green tiles and the wonderful green marble on the floor and on the vanity, I just thought a dark green wall would look incredible. I think people are scared of dark colors, and ironically, every time I do a dark color room, it ends up being somebody's favorite. So as long as you have the right foil, you know, bit of wonderful artwork and beautiful accessories that keep it from feeling oppressive, a dark room can be the most glamorous and cozy place that you can be. I'm inspired by so many things. I think I find inspiration every day and everywhere in nature, in the colors in nature, when I travel, in art and architecture. But the inspiration for this house was very much that it be a family house. And it's a house where I want all of my friends and family to come. I entertain all the time. I host kids' parties, grown-up parties, cocktail parties, you name it. It's really a home for living. Let's go see the rest of the house. So on the other side of the entrance hall is the kitchen. Come and have a look. So the kitchen is a very big space in this house. It's the previous owners had converted the original dining room, butler's pantry, and kitchen into this very large space, and actually it works really, really well. I'm a huge fan of kitchens that don't feel like a kitchen, that don't feel industrial, but actually feel like another room that happens to be a kitchen. So when I designed the kitchen for my house, instead of having upper height cabinets, I put these wonderful brass shelves where I could showcase more of my personal art collection. All of the accessories that you see on the counters are ceramics, marble pieces that I've collected over a number of years on my travels. And I think it just creates this really cozy room that happens to be a kitchen. So I love, as I've said, I love collecting pieces when I travel. I have been known many times to have to buy a suitcase or a duffel bag to bring all of the extra pieces that I've bought while I'm traveling. This is a recent find. I've been working on a project in Los Cabos in Mexico, and I went to see this wonderful ceramic school. And this piece is by one of the artisans there, and I just think it has such cool texture and color glazes. So it's a lot of fun, and I think there's a nice dialogue between this work of art and the feel of the ceramic here. These are wonderful woven baskets that I brought from London, from a great gallery that I've worked with for many years called The New Craftsman. And then this area over here, because I had so much space in the kitchen, I have this enormous 16-foot island and room for 6 to have dinner or breakfast here. I thought what I really needed on this side of the house was a cocktail area. This is my cocktail lounge area, and lots of fun evenings, chatting with friends and having a good time in this area. My dog and my mom's dog also love sitting on this sofa, which we love. So in the kitchen, one of my favorite pieces of furniture is the bar cabinet. And I brought this with me from London, and what I love is inviting my guests to come and choose their favorite glass and make their favorite cocktail. And here you can see a collection of pieces, like all of this glassware has come either from Venice. These were my grandmother's, these belong to my parents. They're all just really special. And I think all of those little touches, all of those different pieces that you've bought over the years, that you bought on a trip or on a beach in Mexico, which I've done, and didn't know what to do, you can find a home in a bar cabinet and display it beautifully and have a fun activity for your guests when they come over. So one of the main features in this kitchen is this 16 by 4 foot island. It's just enormous. And it's only 2 pieces of stone. It's this wonderful Spanish soapstone with this leathered finish that I loved. It took 20 men to get each of the 2 pieces through the doors. I don't think they were very happy that day. But the result is this wonderful island. I'm not a fan of open kitchens. which is contrary to what a lot of designers love. I actually like quite formal, entertaining. But because this kitchen was open when I bought it, I had to find the best way of making it work. And I think by making it feel like a room with an extension of the art collection, an extension of the accessories and all the other pieces, it works really well. So as you'll see throughout the house, all of the flower arrangements in the house are Florida natives. I go out to my garden and I cut what I have. This is just some wonderful, flower from a palm leaf. These are big bananas that I buy at the juice stand on 8th Street, and then we make an awful lot of fried plantains after we use all of the centerpieces. But again, this goes back to my love of contextual design. I think floral arrangements should be contextual. I think the house would look so strange with a bunch of peonies here or old-fashioned English roses. I think the more you can continue the theme of context, the more appropriate a design feels. Now, as I mentioned, I love to cook, and unfortunately, I don't have all the time in the world that I like to cook, but when I'm here in Miami, I love using this wonderful range. It's actually one of the things that I kept from the previous owners. It was just the focal piece of the kitchen, and it works really well. I had this plaster-in hood made. It kind of has that Italianate feel that I think is appropriate to the architecture. And it's really wonderful. I mean, recently I had a dinner party and I had a huge paella dish, and I made a caciuccio, this Italian dish where you put lots of shellfish. I think I mispronounced that, so someone will tell me if I did. But lots of shellfish and a wonderful sauce, and it's a dish that you serve in 2 courses. First the shellfish, and then you toss the sauce with pasta. So that was a big hit. I'd love to show you the powder room, which is one of my favorite rooms in the house. So this room is all about the stone. This is Amazonite, a stone that I absolutely love. And it was one of the first things I decided that I had to have in this house when I was designing it. So designed the wonderful vanity, and then found this incredible textured wallpaper, which has the same turquoise color. And I think the composition of the textured wallpaper, the Amazonite stone, the vintage Murano wall lights, I think it just works perfectly together. A home has a soul when it tells the story of its owner. And for me, it begins with telling your personal narrative. So all of the furniture, all of the art, all of the pieces that you have should be pieces that you love, pieces that you've collected over time, pieces that you buy when you travel or you find at a wonderful vintage shop or something that came from your family. And in addition to that, for me, something that's very important is that design be contextual. This is very much a design for a Florida home. I have materials like rattan and linen and raffia and all of these materials which feel very appropriate to South Florida. For me, when the interior is incongruous with the landscape and the climate of a place, it just doesn't make sense. I'd love to show you my bedroom. It is one of my favorite rooms in the house. I think that a master bedroom should be a sanctuary. It should have a warm color palette, something really soft and serene that makes you feel cocooned at the end of the day. For me, that color is blue. I love blue. It's one of my favorite colors. And you can see here I use this wonderful turquoise jute. It's from Philip Jeffries. It has a really knobbly texture. And even though the shade is quite vibrant, the application in this room, I think from the textures and from all of the other soft tonal fabrics, feels really calm and really soothing. The bedside tables I designed, they have this wonderful faux turquoise finish that I think works really well. And then just a combination of some of my favorite fabrics. This wonderful fabric on the bed, which is also by Pierre Frey, has this like little line of blue inside. You can barely see it, but it just picks up perfectly with the shades of the wallpaper. And then, of course, everywhere you see different pieces of ceramic, vintage mirrors that I've had for years and repainted white for this room. So as I said, as long as you're collecting over the years, you can always find something wonderful for a little corner of the house that you didn't know you had the perfect piece for. I do feel that all rooms should have artwork, especially bedrooms. And I found these really fun little plaster molds. My sister-in-law says that they look like little thought bubbles of my dreams in the middle of the night. But they're really charming, and I do love art that has a three-dimensional quality. On this wall, you can see this wonderful vintage piece made of yarn, which I also found in a vintage store here in Florida, in Miami, and I just thought it worked perfectly to bring in that textured, warm, cozy look for a bedroom. So these works of art are really fun. They're by a local artist called Vicky Pierre, and I love the quality. I love using black as a color in design. People are scared of the color black, but I think that this artwork shows that the color black can be feminine, playful, whimsical, and just really the perfect foil for a tonal bedroom like this one. So the window treatments in this house are hugely important because it can get really sunny in South Florida. And I really love working with Robert Laweed's concept of having cross ventilation in rooms that can be ventilated even without using air conditioning, which I try and do in the winter months. But here I use these wonderful woven shades in this cocoa color, and they go all the way down. So if the light is really bright, you can have that protection from the sun, but they're also transparent enough that you can still see a hint of green. You can still see the greenery beyond, which was so important because every single one of the color schemes in this house was designed with a view to how the composition would look with a view out the windows and the amount of green that you see beyond. That's always really important when you're designing a room, to look at not just the room internally, but what the context it's sitting against and how those colors play together. And then, of course, I do love wonderful curtains. I think that they make or break a room. There's nothing worse for me than flimsy, thin, badly done curtains. And these just have this wonderful textured woven fabric, and layered with the woven blinds, they just create a really sumptuous, cozy feel for the bedroom. And on the other side of this floor is my study. Let's go have a look. So this is my study, and it's, I keep saying this, but probably one of my favorite rooms in the house. When I was first thinking of how to use this house, I had originally thought that my study would be down where the Florida room is. And my brother actually said, this is the best room in the house because it has the view all the way through the garden, and you should use that room to be the room you're going to be in the most, which is my study, my office. So it's a wonderful room. It's also doubles as a TV room, a cozy little snug. It's where I work every day. It's where I do all of my Zoom calls when I'm in Miami. And it's just a very, very, very cozy room. I'm not a great fan of carpeted rooms, but this floor had been ruined by termites. So carpet was just a quick solution when I was trying to move in. And actually, it does give it quite a cozy feel. I picked a carpet that looks like a sweater. And then, of course, a wonderful collection of books that I've been collecting for years, some of them back from my university days a long time ago. So it's nice to have a place to showcase. And then these wonderful bookshelves by my friend Tyson in London also have little animals, as you can see. So there's a little lizard over there, and there's a bird up there. So that is more of the 18 animals throughout the house that I love to task my kid visitors with photographing when they come for a visit. So these fun little pieces of furniture were used for my dolls when I was a little kid. They're Mexican, and my mom bought them in a market in Mexico. And when my parents were moving out of their house, they found them in a box. And I thought they looked so charming as little accessories on my bookshelf. I thought, what more appropriate accessory for a designer to have than, they look like little model furniture, little pieces of model furniture. And so, and of course, a collection of ceramics. I'm obsessed with ceramics, as you've gathered from the tour of this house. So lots of different pieces on the shelf. And it's always evolving and changing. I use them for floral displays, and then I move them from room to room. I think a house should always have an organic quality. You shouldn't be too rigid about what you have, and you should be moving pieces around and living every day with the ones you love best. So I love a chaise. I love them. They're so cozy. This one is comfortable for 2 people, which was important for me for my television room. This actually doubles as the sitting room for my bedroom, for the main bedroom up here on this level. So I designed this in 2-tone fabric so that it wouldn't be too oppressive all in one. And it's just super cozy. And then of course I have a wonderful view of the garden beyond. So when I'm painting a room, when I'm decorating a room, I really love it when the color on the walls continues onto the ceiling. Here it obviously made a lot of sense because there's a bit of a dome to the ceiling. And so I used this wonderful color, this strong green from Farrow and Ball, and painted it on the walls and on the ceiling. And again, I just think it visually elevates the ceiling heights to do that. The word home to me means comfort and glamour and family.
Hey Homeworthy, I'm Lewis. Thank you so much for coming to my home in West Palm Beach. Come on in, let me show you around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
My name is Lewis Miller. I am a floral and event designer with offices in New York and West Palm Beach, and today we are at my home in West Palm Beach. I bought this home in 2021. It's a 1925 Spanish Mediterranean house. It was love at first sight. Honestly, I bought it sight unseen and came down and loved it even more. So then spent the next 6 months to a year really gutting it and doing a lot of cosmetic changes to make it feel like home. Buying this place sight unseen was a little nerve-wracking, but I had looked at so many properties, and what I loved instantly about this property was that the bones were all there. It was a great little size, it was a manageable size. It was kind of a blank slate, to be perfectly honest. It was in great condition. I had to do a few, minor adjustments to the foundations and the roof, but then it was really about coming in and having lots of fun with wallpaper and color and tile and pattern and furniture. Now, the realtor I was with, they were very dubious. They thought I was kind of making a mistake because they couldn't see it. They have since changed their mind. But just walking in and being able to see the light, see the space, see the proportions, see the flow, see how it was a very small house, but it didn't have a lot of wasted space. There were some areas we had to blast through some walls to enlarge some spaces and to connect rooms, but it really was just like, wow, this is amazing. Glad I bought it. No regrets. My kind of decor idea for this place was that I really wanted it to not feel like typical Palm Beach, which can be a lot of blue and white, or it can be very pink and preppy and green. I wanted this to feel like Hemingway, old Florida, like Florida before air conditioning. So really unusual colors like dark teals and mustards and greens and tobacco browns, a lot of antiques, hand-painted floors, using a lot of pattern and natural elements so that it felt very Floridian, but at the same time it was very masculine. It was kind of edgy and didn't feel too expected and had a very warm, sort of curated look about it that just felt like things that I've collected over, centuries if I were that old, but found objects. Welcome to the entryway, the foyer, the Florida room of this house. So when I bought this house, this was one long room that had a very small doorway here and no other opening. Originally, this was a screened-in porch. So what's amazing about this room is that it has so much natural light flow in. My original inspiration and my hope was to have this whole room paneled in antique Pecky cypress wood panels, but that is so exorbitantly expensive that we had to settle for wallpaper, but I think it was not much of a settle because I'm really excited. We found this faux bois wallpaper by Martin Lawrence Bulliard, which is a beautiful mustard color, and this fell right into the color scheme I wanted in this house. I really want to embrace these sort of deep, old Florida colors, but unusual colors. So you're going to get turquoises and blues and peach and mustard all in one room. This Kaleem I actually found on Cherish. It ties all the colors in. This amazing bench I brought from my house upstate, covered in a Carolina Irving fabric. My two prized possessions are these little lamps here. These are Madeleine Castaigne lamps that I bought in Paris 2.5 years ago, and they're in perfect condition. I love how the bright turquoisey, tealy blue goes against the mustard. And then of course at the end here, it's Florida, it's an entryway. We have this fun rattan bar. So I like having some of these nods to Florida and Palm Beach, like the rattan and the caning, without going too heavy into it. It's a great little room all by itself. When guests come, a lot of people, we just have a hard time actually getting them out of this room and into the rest of the house. This room is quite narrow, and it was a little bit perplexing, like how do you actually furnish a room like this? Because it's really not wide enough for big furniture, so that's why we chose to have this bar at the end of the room, which is adjacent to the dining room, so that works perfectly. I wanted a console here so that I can have lamps, have lighting, have a place to put keys, dog leashes and stuff, and then the bench was a natural choice because you sit down, you put your shoes on, you put packages there. So while this room is narrow, it's very functional, and it's kind of broken down into three little individual spaces in one cohesive space. One thing I want to point out, the door, again, I really wanted a very expensive antique door. They just weren't available. So I found this amazing faux painter down here who did all of this wood paneling. This is all painted on. So this is hand painted, faux painted. The floors were stripped down, so they're just a pickled Florida pine. And then this leads right into the living room, which originally this had a very narrow door, but I opened this up so that this room has much more light. Come on with me to the living room and let me show you this space. This living room was originally the dining room. For some reason, it's the biggest room in the house, so I'm not sure why. And there was actually a door that connected to the kitchen there. We closed in this door, we made this door larger, and we put in all the bookcases so that it's surrounded by books. It's a library, living room, it's very cozy. The walls are painted this deep, intense, tealy green blue. The floors have been hand painted by Mary Mead from Atlanta. They're done in this geometrical tobacco stained pattern with the natural rush rug. These two chairs here I found locally. They're French, antique French armchairs, club chairs, so I love them because they're a little tattered, they're a little worn. The dogs love them. This sofa here, it's a down sofa. The dogs love it, as you can see. This is from Howe, London, one of my very favorite furniture makers on Pimlico Road. And then this bird prints I found in Paris at Stéphane Olivier Antiques, and that added just the right touch because it feels very Floridian, but it's sort of saturated, it's antique, it's vintage. It works great with the colors in here. I love having plants in here, whether they're bromeliads or unusual specimen orchids. And again, like a little bit of flowers every now and then, like these sweet peas. We have a cute little window seat over here that is covered in this hydrangea print with that matches the shades, and the wall sconces all have rattan shades. This is a great room, so I can't imagine it being a dining room. It makes for a very cozy living space, and we love it. And it's also really pretty at night when you're walking down the sidewalk because you can see through the Florida room and you can see the bird prints on the wall. This desk is a vintage bamboo desk. Again, it's from a local antique dealer. It brings in some of that old Hemingway feeling. But there's a cute little detail I want to show you over here, and there's a couple throughout the house. So the guy who painted my front door, I wanted these little surprises. So this is the dead butterfly on the windowsill. So every once in a while, you'll get cute little moments of folly like that that are there for no other reason than to just, you know, make you smile. While this room is directly off the Florida room, the line of sight from here looks over the front yard and the street, but this is, again, was important that the furniture in this Florida room didn't look cluttered, or that it actually made some sense. So sitting in this room, you see the bench, you see the curtains, and it actually does feel like an extension of the living room. Same thing when we get to the dining room, the bar feels like an extension of the dining room. So I've always been in love with the natural world. As a child, I grew up in gardens. I come from a family of gardeners. I've always loved flowers. I experimented very early on how flowers can change the dynamic of a room. I went to school for horticulture and landscape design, loved it. My attention span was a little too short for watching gardens grow, and I fell into the whole floral event design business, which was so perfect for my personality because you can really create a whole space, create a look, and it's all over at midnight. So I started doing this at a very young age. I started my business, Lewis Miller Design, in 2002. And focused primarily on creating beautiful special events for clients, some corporate stuff. And I have recently opened an office, actually it's 3 years now, in West Palm Beach. So I straddle my time between West Palm and New York City. Flower Flash started in 2016, though the idea had been percolating in my mind for quite a few years prior to that. Now I create weddings and parties and beautiful sort of private homes and hotels, and I've always loved the juxtaposition of flowers and nature and city and the dichotomy and the democratic nature of New York City. And to that point, I was like, I wish there was a way that I could bring flowers to sort of my everyday New Yorkers. It's great that my clients get to see this and experience this, but the people who actually really need this joy in their life are people like you and me who get up every morning, go to work, and kind of get through the day. So at that point in my career, things were going well. I was like, there's got to be a way to give back. So the first Flower Flash happened in 2016. It was literally taking leftover flowers and doing sort of a pop-up street art installation with them for the sole purpose of nothing other than bringing a smile to somebody's face, that they could experience it, they could take a picture, that they could take a flower, and just kind of be a surprise in the middle of New York City. So welcome to my dining room. This room in the house was originally the living room. It has the fireplace here, and this wall was completely closed off. So one of the best things we did immediately was to open this up. This allowed all this natural sunlight to come streaming into the dining room. And you can see it connects to the floor of the room. We have our bar there, so this really feels like a natural extension of the dining room. This room is one of my favorite rooms as well. There's something about it that just feels, I don't know, almost like things were collected from a pirate ship or something. Two of the most important things in this room that really ground the space are these two antique 17th century caryatids. They're Italian. I bought them from a dealer down here, an auction house down here in West Palm. And I paid a fortune for them, knowing that I could sell them tomorrow for twice as much. I actually got a pretty good deal on them. They're incredible. So I actually had them wired to be lamps so that they will light up. They look beautiful at night. They flank the archway here. We then come in, I've got the dining table, which is a pickled oak dining table surrounded by vintage French Louis Sagnot rattan chairs. Louis Sagnot rattan is, I love it, and I have a lot of it in the house. The wall sconces are also that. It's a little less typical when it comes to rattan for Palm Beach. It's from the 50s and 40s. It's French. It has a little bit more style, I think. So we pulled in the same yellow in the cushions here. This is the same fabric that is in the window shades and the window seat cover in the living room. We had this fireplace here that we inherited and could not find an antique fireplace surround that fit right or was somewhat affordable, so we kept this and had the faux painter do very exaggerated faux bois wood on this in this kind of rich mustard color. And then this amazing tile, tobacco stained Portuguese tile, which picks up the floor pattern. The walls are wallpapered. I use a lot of wallpaper in the house. We actually turned the pattern sideways for this wallpaper so that it felt more like a basket weave as opposed to going up and down. We thought it looked a little dizzying, so I actually prefer it this way because it has this kind of tendency to look like a basket weave. And then trimmed everything in this room out in the same green blue that the library living room is painted in. This pink chest is a piece I've had for years. I love, love, love the color. It's an early American blanket chest. I think the peach against the mustard, the blue-green, and the browns is really amazing. It has this old captain's lamp on it. This thing stays on 24/7, so there's always a nightlight in here. Then on this wall, I have this big crane print. When you have a big wall like this, it's hard to figure out what to put on a space like this, and I didn't want a lot of little things since I already had the birds over the sofa. I didn't want everything to be a bunch of small prints, so I found this locally. It's not an old piece, but it's got this nice saturated tobacco stained look to it of the herons. When it comes to doing flowers for my home, I honestly don't take a lot of chances or experiment because I have things set the way I like, and I want the flowers to not be center stage. They're really just to accent it and give it a little breath of life. So I love pottery, I love vessels. Traditionally, I'll have a beautiful pitcher or some pottery on a coffee table that without flowers, it looks great by itself. But then if I just want to throw a handful of ranunculus or tulips in it, great. Suddenly I have flowers. It doesn't take a lot of thinking. And it's just a nice, I think in general, a nice way to live with flowers, you know, working with the colors of the room so that, you know, you can pick up an obscure color in the room and focus the flower color on that. So they feel bold and they complement the art and the upholstery, but it doesn't feel like you overthought it or overdid it, which I think is crucial. On the dining table, I have always loved majolica, and these are majolica begonia leaves. So they are sitting on the table. I love the colors. They really bring in the colors of the entire house, actually. And then this rattan basket I bought from Soane in London, and just stuff it full of tillandsias and bromeliads, stuff that would naturally grow outside and look very at home in Florida. So this room is fun for entertaining because I hosted Thanksgiving here, I've done dinner parties here, I have a lot of beautiful china and placemats and linens, so it's really great to set this table up. You know, I'm usually a little sparing on the flowers because the table fills up very quickly, so I'll just do some small bud vases, but a lot of candles, but it really becomes about the color of the plates and the china and the linens and how it all works in this room. One little thing I want to show, another little detail here, we have a little mouse that was hand painted there in the corner. He's peeking out of his mouse hole. That's by the same artist who painted the fireplace and the butterfly. And the last thing here is our trompe l'oeil $50 bill on the corner of the bar. So this is very realistic. That's actually hand painted. It's not decoupaged, and it looks like somebody dropped some money, and it's just there for kids to look at and try to reclaim. So this room has a lot of patterns, but I love that because it's got a lot of energy, but nothing is very, very strong. I mean, the fireplace is pretty strong, but you know, I don't know. I think with the fact that it's all outlined in a very strong color, we kept the shade pattern to be a little bit more discreet, and it's more about the color scheme really working and that everything has some space and it's not terribly crammed up against each other. So it feels natural. It works with the natural fiber of the bamboo. You have the views into the other rooms that help it all make aesthetic sense. Okay, welcome to the family room. So this is where we spend most of our evenings. It's right off the kitchen. This room is a very cozy room. We started by wallpapering the entire room in a natural seagrass fabric. The color scheme for this room was really informed by the drapes, this beautiful hollyhock pattern that's got the same blue, greens, and yellows and browns in it. The yellow rug pulls the yellow in, the sofa, the chairs. I've got some antique botanicals here that are Florida native plants. So this again is homage to my love of flowers, but also the flora and the fauna of the surrounding area. So there's a lot of birds in this house. This is an English diorama of owls and pheasants that I got in the Hamptons probably 10 years ago, and I've been looking for the perfect place for it, and there it sits. The dogs love this space because every piece of furniture is down cushion, so it's impossible to keep them fluffed, but they're very comfortable. I have an antique Swedish cabinet here. This is one of my favorite pieces. It's very strong geometrical lines. And that's what's nice about this room is it leads directly into the powder room, which has this super fun crane wallpaper so you get that, you know, view of the birds at the same time. This room does feel a little bit more calm. The dining room, you know, has a lot more pattern going on. This to me is kind of Florida meets English countryside. So there is a lot of English pieces in this room, from the sofa to the chairs to the fabric lampshades. The fabric's English, the bird diorama is English. So this is kind of my comfortable space that is a nod to my love of all things England. And we wanted to have this be a more of a relaxing room, because we've got the living room, which was much more intense. We've got the dining room, which acts as a passageway between all the other rooms, which is much more vibrant with pattern and color. And then we have this, which is just much more calm and relaxed. But what's nice about this room is that it leads into the kitchen, and you can see into the kitchen from this room, which is a completely different story altogether. Let's head into one of my very favorite rooms in the house, my kitchen. So what do I love most about this home? It's quiet, unlike my New York apartment. We sleep really well here. I really love the kitchen. The kitchen, I've always wanted a fully tiled kitchen, and we went for it in this home. So it's floor to ceiling, emerald green tiles. It's got a hand-painted floor. It feels very like old world, like an old English sort of Jamaican kitchen. But at the same time, it really, even though it's so different than the rest of the house, it really works really well. And you kind of turn the corner and suddenly you're just in this emerald jewel box of a room. Okay, welcome to our kitchen. So this is one of my favorite rooms in the house. I have always wanted a fully tiled kitchen, and I finally got it. So it's floor to ceiling, these amazing emerald green tiles. We kept the existing cabinets as is, painted them green, changed out the hardware, found this beautiful green veined marble for the top of the cabinets, for the countertops, and had the floor hand painted again in a diamond pattern in the same green by Mary Mead. The light fixtures overhead are from Urban Electric, and we had those customized in the same green. We built these shelves overhead. We have the brass fixtures, the English deep sink. Yeah, it's just a cozy, great room to cook in. This piece is a vintage Gustavian cabinet, which I found on Cherish, which is perfect for a spice rack, and it fits right here like it was made for the place, between the refrigerator and the counter. And then on this side, we have the butler's pantry. So this is a lovely little extension that's got the wood countertops with the brass edging, this fun geranium leaf wallpaper, and then this one hit of pink in this cabinet here in the corner. In this room, I keep my love of platters and china. These beautiful pieces here I buy from a dealer in Paris, and this is handmade, and I just love, again, the browns and the unusualness of it. It's masculine and rich, but it's very old world. These platters here are a local artist, and they're beautiful. Again, there's a lot of flowers and bees and birds in my life, so these are great for hors d'oeuvres or big bowls of pasta. So we put in these open shelves. These were copied after the Duval shelves, but my guy down here in Florida who works for me is quite the MacGyver, and he can make anything, so he made them for me. We ordered the brass rods and the hooks, so they're great for cookbooks, casserole, dishes, bowls, all kinds of stuff that looks pretty and is useful. So this kitchen is great for cooking, and I have every pot and pan, every single utensil, every spice, so anybody can roll in here and cook an amazing meal. However, that person is generally not me. I tend to make arrangements for dinner or order out, but if you want to come and cook for me, it's all ready. This connecting window between the family room and the kitchen at first was a little bit of a dilemma. It was originally a bar counter. It felt very odd. It felt very diner-ish, and we thought we were going to try to find some old bottle glass, stained glass window, or have something made to put that in here. Ultimately, I did not end up doing that, because the way it turned out, it really does have a nice view into the family room. Somebody can be cooking here and visiting with somebody that's relaxing in that room. And it just also allows for a lot of natural light into this room, which could be dark otherwise. What makes a home come alive? Well, in my situation, it's dogs. I have 3 border terriers, And if I could have 6 or 10, I would in a jiffy, but 3 is sort of the max I can deal with being a single dad. So other than that, obviously I'm gonna say flowers and plants. I think it's really important to bring living elements into a house. It's no cliche that bringing living elements does make it feel alive. And color, I think color, nuances of color, beautiful textiles, wallpapers, things that you love, personal things, kind of really eschewing fashion or trends and just doing something that feels really connected to your soul and your aesthetic. Okay, let's go upstairs. Let me show you my bedroom. Excuse me, come on, Tug. Come on. Okay, welcome to my bedroom. So this room originally had a big closet, which we ripped it out so there was a larger space to create a little bit of a seating area. We moved the bathroom door over so that there was actually a proper wall for the bed. These walls are covered in this amazing printed rattan fabric that's got a pale stripe and a botanical print to it. We put in this closet and lined the panels with the same fabric. And it's very quiet. The curtains are this beautiful soft sage green that pick up the print of the wallpaper. The bed is a 4-poster bed that I had at my house upstate before I sold it and moved down here. Brought in this vintage rattan chaise lounge with the beautiful fabric there for that corner. That fun monkey side table I found from a local dealer down here. So one thing I really love about this room is, again, the hand-painted floor. So this floor is beautiful. It's in the soft blue and green shades, hand-painted by Mary Mead in Atlanta. Picks up all the soft tones. It's very important that this room feels very, very restful, and it does. So it's great to lay in here. The morning light streams in beautifully. The bed looks great right now and very crisp, but there are 3 dogs that sleep with me, so it doesn't always stay like that. But this is just nice, classic Pratisi bed linens. These lamps I bought from a local auction house, and they just give a nice glow to the room with their silk shades. One of the best things about this house was the bathrooms needed very little work. Now, we did have to move the door and put in a sliding door, and I put in this vanity, but the tile was all original to the house. We painted it the same soft green as the trim of the bedroom. This big deep tub was here, so this room was really pretty much ready to go. Okay, let me take you to the dressing room next. I love this room. This was originally a bedroom, but I decided since I would prefer my guests to stay outside in one of the back cottages, that I not have guests stay in the house, that I would have to turn this into a dressing room. So we put in these cabinets that are lined with the caning on the 4 corners. It's a great space. It's got a lot of storage. It's got a lot of natural light. It's a great place to just read, to get dressed, to prepare for the day, for packing your bags for trips. And it just overlooks the front of the house, so it just is a nice addition to this whole series of upstairs rooms. These beautiful chairs are pieces that I got years ago in New York. I had them reupholstered in this stark fabric, and I actually loved them so much I kept them as is, did not reupholster them again. They work great in here. It's a perfect spot to read a book, put on your shoes, put the dog collars on, whatever needs to happen. This lamp here is a vintage French piece. It is by Audemars Manet, I believe is his name, and I bought this locally. This is one of my favorite pieces in the house. It's probably from 1960s. It's all made out of sculpted rope with this green glass orb in the middle and the natural burlap lampshade. This here is Leo the lion. He's one of my most prized possessions. He's traveled around with me for years. I bought him at the New York Botanical Gardens show about 15 years ago. He is one of the few pieces I would actually grab and run out with if the house were on fire, besides the dogs. So come with me to the greatest part of the whole house, the outdoor terrace. My approach to floral design and how I design this home or an apartment in New York or my house that I had upstate, they're very similar. I really want to go for something that feels relaxed, that every piece in the house could actually be a conversation piece, but nothing fights. So it feels very curated. There's a lot of interesting things There's old things, there's new things, there's layers. Layers is a very important word in all of my projects, whether it's a wedding, whether it's a birthday party, whether it's a home. And so that you can be in the environment, and there's a lot of moments of discovery. So as you look around, you notice, details that you didn't necessarily see at first, but nothing is overwhelming. Welcome to my outdoor terrace. This space is such a little treat. It's on the second floor. It overlooks the backyard. The best thing about this house, next to the bathrooms not needing work, was this tile that was already here. So I did not put this tile in. This tile was already existing. We just worked with it, created this wonderful outdoor room with a dining table, with seating area, found this vintage Maguire rattan chaise lounge set, and had these cushions custom made in the mattress style. And it's just a beautiful area to have cocktails, to have coffee in the morning, to visit with friends, to cuddle with the dogs, read a book. It's so relaxing. It gets a nice breeze up here. Or have dinner parties. It's a great place for dinner parties. So this piece behind me, as an ode to my love of all things English and the English countryside, is a dovecote. So these were created in the Cotswolds, and each one of these little holes is where a dove would go and make a nest. So I found this and brought it in. Thought it worked great there. It's a good conversation piece. This coffee table here was from a dealer down in West Palm Beach. It's this sort of Moroccan style, very large piece. It has the greens and the reds and the blues, picks up beautifully with the tiles existing. So it's a great piece, and it's also nice because of the scale is so large. I don't have to have a lot of little pieces, and it really grounds this end of the space. So over on this end, I put a dining table. This is a great space. It works great as a bar for a cocktail party or for an intimate dinner in the evening. This old wood table, there's nothing precious about it. It survives all the elements, and the older and the more beat up it gets, the better it looks. I found these vintage French bistro chairs that I've surrounded it with. Right now it's got a big old snake plant in the middle, but this has to come off if I'm setting it for dinner. But it's a nice cozy area to have a dining this area, lounge on the other side, and it really takes, again, a big space and breaks it into smaller usable rooms. What does the word home mean to me? Well, let's just put it this way. There's a famous expression that says, go big or go home, and I like to turn that around and say, why go big when I can go home? Home is very important to me. Home, my dogs, my relationships, like this is literally where my life is grounded. This is where I want to be. I can work here, I can sleep here, I can entertain here, I can have friends over. It's just, I can't express enough how important it is to invest in your living situation. It literally trickles down, not even trickles, it gushes down into the rest of your life, and just keeps you grounded.
Thanks for watching.